Very much for that very fine keynote address. I think he touched on a lot of the issues. I know Nat is going to make a few concluding remarks. Before he does, I might make a few remarks of my own, if you don't mind. First of all, I think I should thank everybody who's been involved here today for the last 2 days. The speakers, obviously, the participants, the people who asked the questions and the comments, the staff of TASC, and indeed the volunteers also who made it possible for us to have our discussions here in some comfort, and indeed the caterers who fed us. But just in terms of a number of things jumped out at me in the last 2 days, and this is by no way an overarching view, but just a few things that hit me. I think this notion of mobilization. I think it's no accident, in my view, that Reagan and Thatcher first target were the trade unions. And, you know, if the trade unions had not been weakened in the way they were in the 80s and subsequently, it seems to me that the current malaise may not have taken the grip that it has. It's striking that those states in the Nordics, for instance, where social dialogue is strongest, are the states which have, by and large, escaped the horrors of the current crisis. But I would make the point that I think we need smart mobilisation. I don't think it's enough to simply get out on the street with a banner. I don't think that necessarily. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I'm simply saying that that's not enough. And I think the role of TASC, as I see it as my responsibility now as chair of TASC to try and help to guide it with the board and with the staff and that, is to provide the evidence-based information, the background, if you like, to the alternative to TINA. And I think having conferences like this is an important part of that process. I think the emergence of NERI from the trade union movement here in Ireland is extremely significant. And the fact that they have now produced this Plan B is also extremely important, because it could be the focus for a mobilisation, a smart mobilisation between the trade union movement and civil society organisations to sort of counter this notion that there is no alternative. And the question was repeatedly asked here over the last couple of days, how do we get it outside of this room? I think this is part of how we would get it outside of this room, obviously using the media, and not just the print media, but the new media. But it struck me, for instance, and this is maybe a wild idea, but the idea of having a panel of speakers who would not just meet here in Croke Park in Dublin, would meet in Galway, would meet in Cork, would meet in wherever. You could mobilise a 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 people to talk about these issues, to go over them, and, if you like, so that the issue of what was also talked about, the issue of economic literacy, because people don't really see what the alternative might be, and I think therefore the idea of promulgating what that alternative might be is extremely important. But it needs to be credible, it needs to be evidence-based, and we need to be able to argue it not only from, again, another issue that came out, not only from the point of view of the facts and the figures, but the emotional connection with what people feel about what they're going through at the moment. So I do think that far from this conference, I know one or two people I've spoken to have been a bit sort of depressed by the enormity of the task that is before us. Our task is not as enormous as it is facing the people of Greece, for instance. But I do think we need to develop some way of demonstrating solidarity with the people of Greece and sort of having a way in which we can exchange not only experiences but support. So these are the thoughts. I mean, I'm particularly pleased with what Stuart said, that and it's true, that inequality is back on the agenda and climbing up the agenda. It's not too long ago when a deputy prime minister in this state, I can't remember his name, I think he was the leader of the PDs, said we needed inequality in order to have prosperity. He was quite explicit about it. He's now talking about starting a new political party. So that would really be interesting in this day and age. But so the issue of inequality. Sorry, the point I want to make about his statement at that time, there was hardly anybody raised a voice against that. I think now it would be a different story. If a senior politician was to say that now, they would certainly come in for a lot of criticism. But at the end of the day, I mean, TASC is not a political party. There's no political party represented here as such. Our task is not to be a political party, but our task is to ensure that those who are elected actually, pick up the ideas that we're talking about here. So, so interacting with the political system is important. And how we do that is perhaps another, the basis of another conference at some point. So, with those few words, as I say, it's my first sort of official act as public act as chair of TASC, and I just wanted to say a few words to explain where I come from on this, and that I want to make it clear that as far as I'm concerned, TASC will continue to be an independent think tank which will produce credible research-based policy analysis, and that we hope to influence regardless of who's in government, that we will seek to ensure that equality is the basis of Irish government policy from here on out. Thank you very much.